Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us at the Happy Spot. Today, we are fortunate enough, we're going to have Yvonne Dam coming in from Spain. It's a little bit different over there. We're going to get a European viewpoint on how to be happy and how to do this with the help of Matt and Shayna that have been on before. What is the Happy Spot? It's a place where Jack Thomas can sit around and talk about biohacking. What is biohacking? Bio is taking our biology of our bodies and looking at alternative ways on how we can improve it, specifically focused in business. I talk to people all day around the world, and my cohorts that are joining me today, we talk and go, gosh, people are just having a rough time. And then we have owners of companies, we're targeting $100 million corporations up to 400 million. Why that sweet spot is because those are the CEOs that are looking for the wellness of their employees and they don't know the programs that are out there. Us at the Happy Spot, we aggregate and we bring different concepts together. Today, it's about bringing the European wellness model. We are blessed to have a business coach, international CEO of over 20 years, Yvonne Dam, my coach that I've been working with, and I defer to myself now as an entrepreneur because as an entrepreneur, we would be local handling. As an entrepreneur, speaking with her from Spain. Yvonne, please give us a little brief hello, a little bit about yourself, your background, and thank you for joining us today. So grateful to have you in my life.
Thank you so much, Jack, for having me. So I'm Yvonne. I'm the founder of Amaze Yourself Coaching. We coach driven entrepreneurs to actually grow their business by working less and making more. And I started my career, well, a long time ago as an international tax lawyer. And I held several positions, leadership positions in finance, HR, sales and business development. And the last 15 years in corporate, I worked in change management, making companies perform better. And I still do that to this day, but now I do it with my own company. And I'm very pleased to be here.
Thank you so much. And Shayna, I know that you've been on before, but if you treat everybody in the audience are everyday people that live extraordinary lives, give us just a brief snapshot of who you are.
Sure, I'd be happy to, Jack. So I hail here from Cleveland, Ohio. I am a board certified occupational health nurse. So that means I'm a registered nurse working in the public health space, where instead of working maybe one-on-one with people, we work for entire populations, raising the health and well-being. So my being an occupational health nurse, my population, if you will, is the working population. So those of you that are business owners or maybe work for a company that we'd like to see better well-being initiatives, this is the definitely the right place for you to be.
Awesome. Thank you. And Matt, you are the king of the table today. You're the one who has the program that you put together. A little bit about who you are and if you could share with us,
Well, the
please.
king bows to you, Larry, because you bring all kinds of great people together. My name is Matt. I've started RX for Mental Health. I'm a retired physician assistant. I worked emergency room for years, did some neurosurgery as well, and I saw a lot of problems with the mental health elements. I have children, we saw them with their friends, etc. And so there was no good solutions. And so we came up with this program, which I think, I mean, let's just say the number one, the root cause is considered for all mental health in America by research is lack of access. So we made accessibility and affordability real with mental health, and that's what we've done.
So thank you. So on our program, we started out 4 weeks ago, and we are utilizing your program for our business at the Happy Spot. And we have our employees as we're bringing them on board. The way we introduce it is on day one. Here's your benefit. Here is your card. We hope, right? We hope you don't ever need to have a therapist, but we start off going, let's make the phone call so you can at least call and know you have the service. I carry my Jack Thomas card with me every day. You never know when you're going to need it. And this is the proactive approach at the Happy Spot that we're teaching our corporations. I've also been affiliated with very large corporations. I will not name them because I don't have permission, but great corporate benefits, great access to everything you'd ever want. There was so much of it, you never used it. It was almost overwhelming too much. We're at the Happy Spot building up happy cultures. How is this funded? How is it paid for? Each corporation, we underwrite it differently. But the goal is using a sophisticated captive tax plan that's in alignment with their other professionals. We're going to get your company's benefits paid through sophisticated planning. Now, with all those fancy words, let's talk about some basic foundational wellness. Example this week, right? I'm going to give an example. At the Happy Spot, we implement. Now, it may seem like a little thing I'm going to share with you, but it was brought to my attention at an office that I worked within, over 100 people in the office. And one young lady turned out at 14, she was in visiting. We had kids come to school kids from school come into the office, tried committing suicide in September. And I've lost close family friends, and it's just ongoing. And so at this point of being part of the Happy Spot, one of the things that we've been trying to do for kids is introduce them to what do they want to do for their wellness. For her, she thought yoga was going to be the thing. The mom didn't know it. Just having that third party conversation and then having somebody in the room. I do yoga every day. I'm a yogi. I texted a manager within their town. What do we need to do to get a 14-year-old in here? And the Alley Pond Sanctuary, a group of businesses in Queens that are nameless, they don't want their names on things because they just want goodness in society. Alley Pond Sanctuary paid for 6 visits to a yoga class to Village Yoga in Glen Rock, New Jersey. Young lady lives up there, and Julie's coordinate. It's every little business owner, right? What you do to your large business owners and how we scale that up. So with my success story, Shana, what's a success story that you saw within your business world? And it doesn't have to be off of the Happy Spot, but off of a wellness model that large businesses are implementing, so we can get a little more of your backdrop of how you approach your business.
Oh, thank you so much. So, as an occupational health nurse, when we are in industry, employees do come to speak with us, and it might be because their blood pressure is high. So they'll come and they'll sit and they'll be taking their blood pressure. I just want to get a blood pressure check, but that's not really while they're there. What happens is they open the conversation. Nurses are still one of the most trusted professions, and it's such a privilege to be in the workplace where you get to know people, you get to know their families, you get to know what's going on. So when you're taking their blood pressure and it's high, we have a conversation, and that's where we can actually make the most benefit. Sometimes it's just the conversation can help them. Sometimes it's actually finding out that they are in crisis and they need some resources, and we want to turn to our employer to find out what kind of resources they have that we can quickly get them engaged in. So things are changing. A lot of the resources that companies have had are just not enough anymore, which is one of the reasons why I'm so glad I met Matt, because I think his program, again, affordable, accessible way to bring resources for corporations so we don't have anybody left behind.
Great, thank you. And so, Yvonne, as I know you listen in on the room, I spent some time last year in Europe, Portugal, Porto, at the world's largest happiness event. I was so happy. I was overwhelmed. You could really feel the energy in the air. And Europe, 8,000 professionals on happiness. Of the 8,000, I'd say 7,000, maybe 6,500 female. And of that percentage of 65, I would say 90% were under 40. And speaking to the generation of our children or of our future leaders. And I was so happy to see that, but actually so sad for my generation or being an American that we're not more active in that world. So I'm just curious, what's going on in Europe, Spain, Portugal? Because that happiness movement blew me away. I understand it's in all different countries. What are we missing in America that you, as your coaching, see in what what we're missing?
Well, I think, first of all, you point out a very important thing, right? We can't speak about one Europe because they're all European countries and everybody kind of approaches it differently. But what you see is, I think that companies are more open to having a happiness officer, and making sure that mental wellness included in the companies are very seriously looked after. And how people approach that is different. But what you used to see as well is that either nothing was done, which can be very ending bad, as we all know the examples. Or what used to happen as well is that there sometimes was an internal line that you could call when you felt you needed help. But imagine this, you work at a company and you have some mental health issues that is really bugging you, right? And then you call the company that is also paying your salary to tell them that you're really sick. Do you think that's going to go well? Or are you afraid you're not going to do it because it might affect you and all of a sudden you're fired, right? Because you already also know that they're checking your emails to see, hey, what you're writing. And if you're writing it, it might end up fired. So that there might have been some initiatives in the past that kind of backfired. And that's why I think, the happiness movement as such is a better way of approaching this, because it's a more external organization, where people feel more freely to discuss what's really going on without the fear of getting fired or having, impact on their careers.
Thank you. That brings up a topic so local. So my basis of information, everyone please judge and laugh. 50 years, I'm 57, the New York Post, every day either I read it or my father read it to me as a kid. And there's some great information in there. And that paper's been around since Alexander Hamilton, right? We're going to go back a long time, which, by the way, he's from Nieves, which, by the way, is where captives started. And that's our financial model. But to fast forward to today, they talk about Boeing, whistleblowers. There are 10 whistleblowers right now at Boeing. Planes blowing up. God knows what happened there. I was reading the newspaper articles, and we all know we have to read a newspaper article, right, with just a little bit of information, but there's something there. 2 people died. One committed suicide, and another one had an unfortunate quick death. And so the fear is real out there. And so, Yvonne, you make a great point on that third party representation and having that out there. I'm going to pause for a moment, and we're going to come back and we're going to play a video, because ISO and OSHA, that's going to be the next segment of our topic. ISO and OSHA. We're going to move into our break, and the binaural sound beat that you hear, it's designed to have the focus. These are little things that you could bring into work. Is a binaural beat. We're going to make it to break. Thank you, and we'll be right back, everyone.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Okay, so as we come back from our break, the topic where we're speaking of today is how Europe approaches the topic of mental wellness and how the United States approaches it. Shauna, I was so appreciative and impressed that you were able to provide us with a 10-minute YouTube link. It's ISO 45003, which talks about the international recognition of, and I'm not even going to use the words, I'm going to play the video. It's 10 minutes. I'm going to break in for a minute or two, and then we're going to break back into conversation on what is being recognized internationally. And I think we're the first ones really in the United States that are broadcasting this type of information. And let me go to my share screen right here. And this is about the standard of ISO 45003.
You are listening to Standards in 10 Minutes from The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards with Matthew Childs and Cindy Park.
Hello, my name is Matthew Childs.
And I'm Cindy Parkill.
And this standard in 10 minutes is ISO 45003, the international standard for psychological health and safety at work. Here are 10 things you need to know.
Number 1, what the standard is all about.
Our working lives can have a significant impact on our psychological well-being. And the COVID pandemic lockdowns shone a spotlight on just how great that impact can be. So the publication of ISO 45003 is a recognition that employers have an important responsibility to protect both the physical and psychological health of their employees. It is the first global standard to give practical guidance to employers on managing the many psychosocial risks that can impact a worker's psychological health in the workplace. Number 2, what's meant by the term psychosocial?
The term psychosocial describes the factors within the workplace and the work that we do that can negatively impact on both our physical and psychological health. Psychosocial risks can be introduced by the way we work. These can include heavy workloads, pressing and stressful deadlines, the nature and the type of work we do, the isolation we can often feel, and that all-important work-life balance. But it's not only the way we work. There are other contributing social factors too. These include the culture of organizations, the working relationships we have with our colleagues, plus things like bullying, harassment, fairness, and career development. Other hazards that can give rise to psychological harm include high noise levels, high or low office temperatures, pain from muscle disorders, fear of violence and aggression, or even witnessing an incident at work. Number 3, why the standard is important.
Psychological health and safety has been a major issue in global workplaces for many years. But the COVID-19 pandemic increased the need for employers to take a proactive approach to addressing this issue. Indeed, it might be said that psychological health and safety at work has overtaken physical safety as an organizational focus for the 2020s. ISO 45003 supports organizations to understand the issues, develop new approaches, and manage the risks in both the short and long terms.
All right, everyone. I went a little longer than I had planned on because I'm just amazed every time I listen to this at the information. So I'm going to start off as representing businesses my entire life, New York, New Jersey, and how we see things. And we see things what we consider, I'll call fair. So a business says, we're going to treat you fair. We're going to treat you nice. And over the past 20 years, working in the property and casualty world, the largest lawsuits we saw are sexual harassment, discrimination, the hashtag Me Too movement, and all of that, which was sexual harassment, discrimination, hostile work environment. So I'm just curious, specifically to you, Shauna, how does this new piece sit on top of that as we become more sophisticated in our business world? This is a new topic that sits on what we've experienced. Where's the difference here, and where can employers see this going from lawsuits, from a
Thank you, Jack.
liability perspective?
Yeah, I think actually I just I've been in the healthcare space helping hospitals kind of address some of these issues, and it came right to the forefront because do you know that physicians that work for hospitals in their credentialing process, they have to say if they've ever had any kind of mental health issue. And not that are they currently having a problem today that prevents them from being a good doctor, but if they've ever had that, and some people don't get credentialed if they've ever had a mental health. Talk about a stigma. I mean, I think that's just one area that is, ripe for something like that as we move into this area of having much more awareness about mental health, and we're trying to tell everybody, oh, it's okay, go get help, and then nobody does it because of the stigma.
So I was putting my hand up because the timing for me was so funny. I'm well known in underwriting in all different segments within business, and I got pulled in president in New York City of a pharmaceutical company for mental health. And as I'm taking an application on his well-being for his business, he's taking 3 different prescriptions, and I stopped the application. I said, you're not going to get approved, sir. So why don't we wait a little while? Because I've been taking the medication for years. How do you know I'm not going to get approved? I said, these 2 drugs are automatic declines from that insurance company for that wellness you're looking for. He was so upset, and yet a leader in the community. And so there's this contradiction. Yes, 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 but no, no, no. So hard. And speaking of contradictions, I joke with my friends. I said, I am so fortunate from a well-styled, trying to change my lifestyle, learning from Yvonne. She just did a big event with a woman out of Boulder, out of Colorado. I'm drawing a blank, Lori Joseph. And so the joke with my friends, they're like, yeah, well, they're Europe. They take 5 weeks off, they have vacation all the time, right? But I don't know. I'm like, they make a Mercedes, they make a BMW that, right? That their clothing is pretty stylish, right? So they're getting something right. So Yvonne, on an international basis and seeing some of this new language, first, did Europe have a big problem with the sexual harassment discrimination claims like we saw in America here? But Europe, it seems like you kept it quieter. What's going on over there in that kind of domain and the flow through?
Well, it's definitely in Europe as well. Again, you can't speak generally, but yes, it's definitely, it hits the news. But I think part of it is that not all European news reaches America, whereas a lot of American news does reach Europe. But definitely, the Me Too movement, everything has been put into motion, and quite some big scandals as well. As an outsider, it's for me fascinating to see how some people react as if it's all very normal. And I think it's a good thing that a lot of things are being put in motion, so to say. So that's definitely been going on in many European countries as well. Yes.
So thank you. So last year I'd spent some time with some other business owners in Europe, and we talked about the topic, and I shared with them, I said, in America, if we're not given a reason to make a behavior change, we just don't. And they go, well, that's what's wrong with you capitalists. And I said, there's an essence of how we go about it. We have had HR, EAP, and all these programs, and it's a wellness program, but I look at it as they've been inundated and overwhelmed. So to bring it on the forefront in talking with professionals like yourself, we approached insurance companies last year. We said to the insurance companies, if they provide this positive psychology and training within their business and this line of insurance, they were giving us discounts. So it's having these conversations. And some people say, why are you going to talk about this? So other business owners who do what I do, they know it will become a mass movement at some point because it's just overwhelming the systems. And Matt, right now, in the world of, I'm going to come back to OSHA in a minute, Shana. That's more your world. But Matt, talk to me about the happy spot. We're now in 5 or 6 states. So I use your program in New Jersey, right? I have an organization called the Guild Investment Members. Anthony is a member. We have Brooke in Los Angeles. We have Megan in Colorado. We have Emily in Pittsburgh. We have Anshar in Virginia. We're in 7 states. How do you do it? What's your secret sauce without giving it away? But I want other companies to know that your service, we're here speaking on the happy spot. But listen, this is America and it is capitalism. Your services can be purchased by anybody. How do you do it?
Thank you, Jack. So the secret sauce, which I will tell you, is that I came up with a contract with Teladoc in 2018 before the pandemic hit. And then we actualize the numbers. We make sure that all employees are covered, but not all employees need it, And so therefore, everyone shares in the cost of helping each other out. And we are in all 50 states. We have psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, counselors, coaches. We have it all, depending on what you need. We have a 24/7 access. You can get the same therapist every week if you want to. We're available within 72 hours of signing up. So it really is, it's our history and signing contracts way early and the actuarial events of covering everybody, which I think makes a difference. I want to bring up one point, Jack, going back a bit to what Yvonne was talking about and Shauna as well. Remember, you're an automotive person. Remember AAA, right? American Automobile Association. We're the new AAA. We are anonymous, affordable, and accessible. And the anonymousness is huge deal because what happens is what we do is we cover the silent sufferers. And those people who would normally fall through the cracks, they don't want to go down to the EAP office. They don't want to be known on their health insurance. We have a lot of police officers and first responders who use our service because if they found out through their normal insurance that they were having a mental health issue, they'd be fired, it'd be a desk job, all kinds of bad things would happen. And so because we're totally anonymous, I don't even know who these people are. I know what their diagnoses are, but because of HIPAA compliance, I don't know who's on or who's off specifically. But this anonymousness really helps us capture those silent sufferers so that nobody does fall through the crack.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to pause here. We're about to go to break. And so as your card says, it's not insurance. So these are the things, right, that we're coming and approaching this from a different viewpoint, why it's so important for people to know that. We're going to move into our break and we're going to come back and we're going to pick up the topic on OSHA with Shauna. And I'm going to share a little success story that I've had in the past and hearing about how we can improve this for other business owners. Be right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here at the Happy Spot. My name's Jack Thomas. We have the good fortune of Yvonne Dam coming in from Barcelona, Spain, giving her perspective. We have Matt, who created the RX card, and Shayna, who is a practicing RN. We're talking about the different segments on how to improve business in America and how we can learn from Europe and how we could be coached from Yvonne. So I want to share a little New York story on coaching and OSHA. First, Yvonne was the first one to ever really say to me, "Hey, Lair, all that energy you have and the way you think, it's just such great energy. How can we help promote getting it out there?" So I look at OSHA in the United States and how to change society. Businesses look at OSHA as a horrible thing. And OSHA started from the original in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, where there was a horrible fire over 120 years ago, and people died, and the government said, okay, here are the new rules. So now we come 120 years later, we know that the number one thing that we need from all our employees is for their minds to be clear. We know that they're inundated at home because of the phone. We know they're inundated at home because of the computer. We know that they're inundated, and their minds are completely on overload. And OSHA hasn't really addressed this. But I'll give you one of my favorite OSHA New York story. I was hired years ago as an advisor, largest taxi garage in Manhattan. They received a $125,000 fine from OSHA. It's about 17 years ago. And I won't name the owners. Call him Jim. Jim, what happened? You know, my partner, and wised off to an OSHA inspector. And in New York, we all know the only time OSHA is going to have the time to really come and give you a hard time is because you did some bad stuff to your employees and they made a phone call, and now OSHA's looking at whatever you're doing. And I said, let me go speak with them. And I went down to OSHA and I said, I see the 75 rules you want done. Let's make a deal. What kind of deal, Jack? I don't know. They can't do all 75. How about pick the top 3, the most important, and reduce their penalty? And they were adamant, no. And then through conversation, as we've been talking here today, it turned out that partner had embarrassed one of them so that the only way they were going to reduce it is if he, the owner, apologized in front of the 50 technicians that were there. I said, you want that to happen? He goes, yeah. I said, all right, 100 grand. 100 grand? I said, 100 grand discount. I'll get him to do that. Now, that's just human nature, because I knew I needed that 6-figure number. I didn't have that permission to negotiate that. But in New York, you go with your gut. That person, all the technicians, right? The owner comes walking down and they see him walking down. Everyone knows, and it's like silence. And the OSHA is there, and the owner goes, sorry. And the OSHA inspector looks at me and I go, sorry. And that was worth 100 grand. The mental wellness, the little things of human beings, right, that I've had to witness in New York. I didn't even think it was possible to ever get that man to say he was sorry, let alone OSHA. So never feel as though you're completely overwhelmed. There are professionals out there. We all have this type of experience. And I'd love to hear from a registered nurse on an OSHA inspection and how you would handle it from your approach. Because now we team up as a team. You get the New York approach, and I get your Midwestern wholesome value coming out of Ohio, right?
Yeah.
We take that niceness with the sophistication of Europe. We could take on the world, guys. We'll take it on.
I think we can. And I do think, sometimes OSHA does carry a big stick, and that's maybe why businesses are a little anxious around it when really it's guidance for us to determine in our particular industries what do we need to do, because we've learned all these years about things. So why reinvent the wheel and look to OSHA for guidance? And I think the more that we can do that and look at for kind of consider it as a guiding principle, I think we do a lot better. But they did recently, if you were not made aware, have a fact sheet for businesses that's called Workplace Mental Health. You can just Google OSHA Workplace Mental Health, and they will give you a fact sheet about things that they have learned and things that you should pay attention to as a business owner. But we actually did something ahead of that, and that was with the Surgeon General back in 2021. He released a very good document addressing workplace mental health issues because we were in the throes of the pandemic. And I think that showed that the government didn't want to necessarily make it a regulation that we were going to carry a big stick and hand slap, but rather the Surgeon General was saying, look, businesses, you really need to get on board with some of these ideas. And so I'm much more in favor of doing it because it's the right thing to do. And it actually is pro-business. It will help productivity if your people feel well. I mean, that's no secret. Certainly as a registered nurse who's certified in occupational health, that's what we do. It's to increase health and productivity. It goes hand in hand.
And I'm with you on all of that. And I just Googled the document and it immediately comes up. I'm not going to show it here, but it's this type of information that is existing out there. At the Happy Spot, what we pride ourselves on is implementing. So the past story I shared earlier about Alley Pond Sanctuary, helping a young girl, right, to overcome her angst and doing yoga. Going in with OSHA into New York City, negotiating, holding the hands of the business owners in OSHA. What other scenarios can we be doing to implement business owners? And I'm not looking for the answer, but those are the questions that we behind the scenes, we're thinking and talking on how we can do that. We are open for input from people, right? So this is the Happy Spot. We're on New York City radio. We're going out on 6 or 7 different channels. We're going to be heading out all over the world, but we have some brains. I've received some emails. Someone said, wow, you have some really smart people. And I do, and I'm blessed. The part that is more powerful to me is the caring, like people genuinely care. And coming from New York, people a little jaded. I'm like, no. They're legit. Right. People really do care. Like, well, Lar, what's in it for you? Right now, nothing. Right now, I put my money here until you become a client or we engage in service. And if nothing else, sometimes it's just doing good, right? As a yogi, putting good karma energy out there, as we were talking about. Matt, talk to me a little bit about the teledoc, that you had that insight, that wisdom in 2018, right? Like your wisdom, right, is awesome. So please expound upon that and remind everybody out here in the audience and Shayna also, your businesses are for hire. We're here today representing the Happy Spot. But if anyone has any interest in having consultations with these professionals, please feel free to reach out to us. Emily, my assistant, will get you connected. And I'd love to know, Matt, 2018, you had a vision.
So what happened was I'd had enough of emergency medicine that tends to emergency medicine providers have the highest level of stress and anxiety. And I'd had enough. So I went to work for actually a pretty progressive doctor at primary care, Farouz Danashgari. And he left actually doing urology surgery. And he had this great concept of expanding healthcare and taking it where 5% of the healthcare claims cover 95% of all the expenses. And so he wanted to just get people healthier. And we started talking about this and we explored what's called direct primary care. And direct primary care is where you have unlimited availability to a physician. I don't want to get too deep into this for a fee. And most physicians, because of insurance, are only allowed 14 minutes per patient in primary care. And half of that time is spent on their computer, just typing in the information. So oftentimes when they go to a primary care, like we live here in Cleveland Clinic, which is extremely good, by the way, the physician, the provider, the PA, the nurse practitioner, the doctor will not even be looking at you. They'll be typing away while you're talking. And talk about there's no physical exam almost anymore. And so this was not right. So I looked into the direct primary care model. That's a good model. And then I saw, though, there was so much expense with that. And then my master's was in healthcare in mobile devices. That's what I did my master's thesis in. And so that was back in 2012. So I've been thinking about this all along since 2012. And when it came time, I said, let's start a direct virtual primary care where it's a monthly fee. You get unlimited use for a coach, a nurse practitioner, a doctor. And our goal was to get people, we call it the five normals, normal medication, normal blood pressure, normal sugar, normal weight, normal, no cigarette smoking. And I forget the fifth one now because it was so long ago. And then focus also on lower stress and inflammation. It was called the 5+2. Well, the model was actually ahead of its time, and people did not grasp either the direct primary care or the virtual direct primary care at the time. And so that kind of went through. When the pandemic happened, all of a sudden it was great to have the exposure of virtual medicine. And all of a sudden it was like, Matt, you were a genius at that. Yeah, right. I predicted the pandemic. But in any event, I saw then that most people were signing up for my services, not for this basic teledoc medical, but for the mental health. And so we just shifted the whole business over to that. I still have the other business, but I do almost nothing with it. All has been on mental health, and it's good. It works.
That is great. Thank you so much. What has been the experience for your clients in Europe on teledoc? Yvonne, just generally in not as much on the mental illness, but health, but all online. How have the Europeans taken to that?
Well, in general, in some countries you see that it's becoming more and more of a trend, but it's not that common yet, and it's really, of course, depending per country. But in the like even here in Spain, you see it sometimes, but there are also quite a few people that aren't open to it yet. Even though, the pandemic year made a lot of people go online. So you see it happening, but it's not mainstream. I think that would be the best way to summarize it. And some countries will not even enter that thought yet.
Got it. Thank you. So as we're looking at mental health, business, employees, employers, I'm going to pull back a little bit on this conversation and roll into the happiness and what's going on worldwide and absenteeism. So the United States as a whole has dropped in the happiness measurement. The March 20th is recognized International Happiness Day. It's been around for 12 years. The United Nations started it. Countries are measuring it. I think Finland and the Danes and that part of the world, I think they've won 6 times. Happiest countries in the world. And I know, Yvonne, family, you're originally from Denmark. If you could elaborate, why is Denmark winning these happy awards? What are they doing that we should know about?
Well, those Scandinavian countries, they always score very high in happiness. I'm from the Netherlands, so I'm not from. It's not that cold where I'm from, but what in general, there are several things that contribute to the overall happiness, right? One of the things is that there is like a social care system that looks after people. Unlike in the US, there is something that is really taking care of the people. Also, generally, there is like a pension that, if you're working, you're paying towards a pension, and when you retire, you get a state pension as well. In general, what you can see is that there is more money available for people. And I raised this because I made a joke about the weather, but I've been thinking about it. The weather is often, it's very cold, and it's very often very gray. As we all know, that does something with our mental state. But it's more the caring side of those countries that make people feel good and that make them feel looked after, as well as that there's money, so people don't, all the basic needs are met. And that's my perspective. But that's why a lot of people feel happier, because they have the money to buy things, they are looked after. So their first primary needs are really taken care of.
Thank you. Great. I was just noted that I'm running a little late here. We're going to run to our break, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Thank you, everybody. So we're back at the happy spot. We're coming towards the end of our segment today. And as I sit here and I'm thinking, we're having great conversation, great dialogue, and I'm looking forward to the future and how we can improve the status of employees and happiness. I'm just curious, I'm going to go around the room as we kind of round out our time. What is one thing you're thinking a business owner could implement today that you could just say, hey, right? One, I would say, you want to implement change? Call Jack Thomas. You can get me at the happy spot. No problem. We'll have a conversation. That could be one simple thing. Shana, what is one simple thing that you'd like to put out there coming from your business, your name, and letting people know one simple thing? They go, Shana said that.
Thank you. So the name of my business is Workplace Health, and we do evaluate programs to improve the health and productivity of the workforce. looking at safety and health programming. So I think that's a great place to start because, we don't have to blow things up and start all over again. We need to modify and tweak a little bit what we're doing. Adding just something a little bit more, like a service that Matt provides, can be a huge accomplishment. And it's not hard. It's not expensive. In fact, you're probably spending the money anyway. This is just a way to invest the money instead of spending the money in healthcare spend or lack of productivity.
Great, thank you. And so I hear productivity. I'm talking to a manufacturer, and that's where I see a lot of opportunity coming into America. Production of goods are coming back. The system we've had for the past 40 years, build it as you need it. America is building it. That manufacturing, I just see your business really supercharged and growing in the future.
If I could, can I just add one more thing? And also, we're all scrambling for workers, in America. And the workers are looking for a business that cares about their mental health. It's very clear, and they're looking for culture. It's a culture fit, even more than they're looking for salary. So it's really something to be thinking about. And I'm finding it's just a tweak. It's not a blow up and start over.
I'm with you on that. Yep. And I'm with you on that. That when I was in Europe and I recognized female leadership, HR under 40, right? They're telling us what they want. And so by going first and leading with this card is setting the tone of the culture of the company. This goes first from the owner, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do it, everyone. Matt, what is one thing today that you would want to share with our business owners out there, your company, just right? Everyone can always reach out to the Happy Spot, but throw it out there. And what's one thing that you're saying
The National Safety Council has determined that if you do not have a mental health program, it's costing you $121 per employee per month. Okay. And there's so many other costs that go along with that. 3 of the top 6 typical healthcare claims are mental health issues. Our program costs $40 per employee per month. And it covers the whole family. It covers the children all the way down to age 13 as well. It's a huge deal for many people. So by implementing our program, not only do you have the absenteeism is gone, but now you've gained $80 in productivity per month, and you're showing your employees that you care about them.
Thank you. That's awesome. And so, Yvonne, you giving of your time, coming to speak with us midnight in Europe. I was on a call early this morning with you in another business conversation. I'm just so impressed with your dedication, your professionalism. What is one thing that you would like to share that would be from a mental wellness perspective in these conversations we're having?
Well, what I think is very important, because we talk about this, but I can also really realize that a lot of business owners don't know what to do, right? Because you're in business, because you're an expert in your business field. You're not an expert in mental health. But like Shana is saying, culture matters. Like Matt saying, it's at your fingertips. So I would say, if you're a business owner, if you're listening and you're wondering how to deal with this, reach out to Jack, because he can help you. That's the whole idea behind it. You do not have to figure this out on your own, but go seek help, because that's going to make a difference for you and your business.
Thank you. And just so everybody knows, the type of work that I'm doing today is what I call strategic design. So in strategic design with business owners, we look at corporate benefits. I got a phone call today from an accounting firm in Connecticut. Hey, Larry, we have a situation on our retirement plan. We want to improve it. What can we do to retain our employees? At the same time, I'm going to be bringing up the mental wellness conversation. It's such an issue in this country right now. There are 5 states, 5 that have provided short-term disability by statute law. New York, New Jersey are the best known in providing short-term benefits that if you're sick and you don't feel well, after 8 days, there's a state disability plan for you. Employees don't even know about it. There are 5 that have been around historical. In the past 3 years, I think 9 more have added on. So the states are starting to recognize it. Federal government has not yet. Ultimately, that may be the play that happens, but right now we'll do it one state at a time, one business owner at a time. But we know that as a group, right, that we can do this. From a tactical perspective, bringing Yvonne in as a coach for the CEOs and for a management team. I've done this with her before. The CEO said, I want to change my culture. And said, no problem. I strategically could implement different pieces, but now we need a tactical coach to manage that relationship. And it's not just one thing anymore. There's multiple tools that we as business owners are now responsible. What we do with the Happy Spot, we've already vetted out the people. We will implement with you. And at the speed of light, if someone gives us the go, there's nothing we cannot do. There's nothing. You know how I know? I've self-manifested to be here. Jack Thomas is blessed to have this good fortune of everybody being here. We're at the Happy Spot. We're coming to our end. We're going to be rounding out a little bit. I just want to say thank you to everybody that was here. And keep in mind the senses. We have 5 senses. I'm playing these sounds. YouTube, binaural beats, not here to sell anything, but it's a great focusing for the sound. We used our eyes today. We're using our words, but that sound can help center everything. Little things at the Happy Spot. Jack Thomas wishing everyone a great day. Enjoy. Thank you.